Today is the feast of the Holy Innocents. In Matthew's Gospel, we read today of the destruction of young boys 2 years and younger who were murdered because of the fear that King Herod had that somehow a king was born and that he would lose his power. Such a terrible, terrible thing that we must recognize even in the midst of this joyous octave of Christmas. These young innocents were not the last to die. And so we take time to thank those who have sacrificed so much for us, that our faith unfortunately has had these martyrs over and over again who were willing to die for the sake of the glory of God. So it draws to mind, what are we willing to do? What are we willing to sacrifice for the glory of God? What thing can we put aside or die to so that God's glory can be manifest in us? We must have an affirmation of our faith, and that's what Christmas does. There is a holy affirmation that is the gift of Christmas. Kindness is affirmed. Generosity is affirmed. Joy is affirmed. Faith is affirmed. Hope is affirmed. Love is affirmed. We, each of us, young and old, believers or not, have all been affirmed by the birth of Christ, because on that wintry morning, joy, faith, and hope was born. And in that moment, you and I, who have been affirmed by that faith, that hope, and that joy, we are to go out. And so that those innocents, those holy innocents who died so many decades and centuries ago, will not have died in vain. So what must you and I die to? Die to power, die to greed, die to jealousy, die to racism, so that all that remains left is the life of Christ. That's what you and I are to do. And so, to quote my favorite author, Reverend Howard Thurman, the work of Christmas begins to meet and be with the lonely, to feed the hungry, to visit the sick, to ask for forgiveness, to go out and do the work of Christmas. May this Christmas season remind you of the sacrifices that have been made for you, but encourage you to make sacrifices for not only God, but through people for God. Merry Christmas.